Okay, so do you really need a realtor in order to sell your house? Hi, my name's Jose. I'm a realtor with RE/MAX here in the Inland Empire in Southern California. And well, if this is your first time on the channel, first of all, welcome. Always honored to have you here. In fact, actually, be sure to hit the subscribe button right down over here. And then also be sure to hit the bell also. This way you never miss any future content where I talk about buying, selling, and of course living here in the Inland Empire. Oh, real quick, be sure to stay into the end of the video because I do have a free gift that I would like to offer you. Okay, so back to the question, do you need a realtor in order to sell your house? I mean, can't you do that yourself? And the answer is, yeah, you can. Let's dive into that. Okay, first things first, you need to do a little bit of homework to find what is the market value for your house. And maybe even more important than that, if I'm being honest, is finding out what is the most amount of money that a buyer would be willing to pay for your house in the current market. And that is whatever the current state of the housing market as you're watching this video. But what is the most amount of money that a buyer is willing to spend in order to buy your house? And whatever websites or tools that you use in order to be able to find that. But once you do, now you know what is the highest number that a buyer is likely to be willing to spend in order to buy your house. Quick caveat here though, you definitely want to make sure that you're taking a very unbiased approach here, meaning you're taking any emotional attachment that you very well may likely have with your house, but you're taking that out of the equation. You're strictly looking at other comparable houses in size, in the area. You definitely want to make sure that you're staying within the area. You don't want to look at the next town over or two towns over, but comparable in size, comparable in maybe features that your house has, as well as comparable with any updates or upgrades that you may have. Also, it's important to keep in mind the sales price and the list price, they are not the same thing. The sales price, that's the goal. That's what we're after because that's money in our pocket. The list price, that's the number we use to be able to pull those buyers in. And well, if we start out with too low of a list price, we do run the risk of attracting a bunch of low ballers. You know, these are the ones that are saying, yay, let's go get it, it's a great deal. And if your list price is too high, it could scare off potential buyers from coming to see your house, ultimately leaving your house to sit on the market for a lot longer than it should. So again, it's important to do your homework, study the market, study the comparables, find that sweet spot that's going to be able to allow you to pull those quality buyers in to be able to come see your house. Now that you have that list price, it's time to advertise it. In other words, let's take some pictures. Hear me when I say this, the pictures you take are so important when it comes to marketing your house. The latest statistics show that 96% of today's home buyers, they start their search online. They're looking at photos of homes online, and that's before they ever even talk to an agent, which means they're making decisions about which homes they want to go see based on the photos of the homes that are online. And if the photos of your house look, what do you think that buyer's going to do when your house pops up on their screen?
Next.
Yeah, I mean, here's what I would say. Be sure that, that everything is picked up in the house, that all the beds are made, that they're nice and neat and tidy, that also be sure that there's plenty of light inside the house. Yeah, nothing's worse than looking at pictures of a house that's kind of dark and gloomy. Maybe even do a little bit of staging for the photos. And hear me, I'm not saying that you have to go over the top with that, but I would do small things like such as, for instance, maybe you could kind of fancy display of all the towels in the bathrooms or maybe even the kitchen, but give them a nice fancy look and display there. Clean towels just for showings and pictures. Also on the kitchen table, I would say maybe just kind of right there, what you could do is put a fancy little formal setup with the plates and saucers and what have you, kind of having that all dressed up. Another thing is on the foot of each bed, maybe what you could do is put like a little throw blanket over over kind of the foot corner area of the bed, just kind of give it a type of a look. It's just the little things that can help give your house a classy, elegant look for the photos. Oh, and please don't forget it. This is one of my biggest pet peeves. Don't do like I've seen a number of agents do, and that is forgetting to close the toilet lid for the photos. Of course, whether you decide to take the photos yourself or hire someone else to do that, a professional photographer to come in and take listing photos. I mean, most do take some really nice photos, but they're not cheap. I mean, depending on the size of your house, I mean, it could cost $100, $200, maybe $300 to get those photos done. But if you do decide to take the photos yourself, just be sure that you have plenty of light in the house. Make sure that you're capturing each room at the best angle that's going to give the room its best view, its best presentation on a computer or a phone screen. And if you do decide to use your phone, which I'm not saying that's bad, not at all, honestly. I mean, most phones today, they take some really good quality photos. I'm just saying that if you do decide to use your phone, do me a favor, make sure that you're taking it like this, not like that. Here's a really popular question that I do get, and that is, should you fix everything before you put the house up for sale? And my answer is, it depends. Yeah, I know. Not the answer you were looking for, is it?
No, not really.
Well, the answer, it does depend. It depends on what we're talking about fixing. See, if we're talking about fixing, a lot of small, insignificant, things that are not necessarily major issues. These are the things that, I've been meaning to get to those. They're on my to-do list. Nothing necessarily crucial, and I just haven't got to them. Or are we talking about things that might be a little bit bigger of an issue? Here's what I would do. I would have someone walk through the house, whether that's a family member, a friend, coworker, neighbor, whatever it is, but I would have someone else walk through the house and ask them. If you saw that, would that be a concern for you if you were thinking about buying this house? Yeah, honestly, many times it really does help to have an outside opinion come in and look at things like that. Now, yes, there are going to be times where it might make sense to go ahead and fix things before you have a buyer come in to see the house, but if I'm being honest with you, in most cases, it's not really necessary. But listen, if you have all the photos done, the house, it's ready to go, it's ready to have buyers come and see it, well then it's time to advertise it. Well, and as I just mentioned a moment ago, if 96% of today's home buyers, they're online looking at photos of homes, well then, where do you think your home needs to be?
On every computer.
Okay, a couple things. Not sure why we're under the table. And no, not technically on every computer, but you do want your house to show up online. You want it to be on the internet. Now, where online, that's where things can get a little tricky, because the truth is we don't know what websites that a buyer that's potentially looking for a home just like yours, we don't know websites they're looking at. So my answer, I'd get it on as many websites as you can. The more, the better. Now, something I do for the sellers I work for is, I would say, I might even consider running ads on social media. I mean, think about it. What does it seem like everyone's on these days? What's everyone staring at? Their phone, right? I mean, they're looking at Facebook, or they're looking at Instagram, or they're on there looking at something. And if you can run an ad and get your house in front of the people that are looking to buy a home, that's just one more opportunity to capture the right eyeballs and find the right buyer for your house. Of course, if you do a good job of marketing your house, you should start getting phone calls from home buyers or from agents that are representing home buyers. Oh, real quick, I got to cut in here because that does raise a good question, because if there is a buyer that has an agent, are you willing to pay that buyer's agent a commission? And you don't have to. I mean, there's no rules. Nothing says you necessarily have to pay a commission to that buyer's agent. I just will forewarn you, though, that if you choose not to pay the buyer's agent a commission, you do run the risk of, potentially anyway, causing the buyer to say, that's okay, agent, let's go find another one. But when those calls do start to come in, you want to be sure that you're ready to provide access for them to see your house. Whether that means you're at the house to provide them access. Although if you work a 9 to 5, you are limiting the availability, the access for them to come see your house. And when you do that, you are running the risk of, potentially anyway, but you are running the risk of causing a buyer to say, let's just go see another one that's easier to see. Or you have a lockbox with a spare key for the agent to have access. Of course, I'm sure this one goes without saying, make sure your house is show ready before you do give anyone access to see it. In my experience, there really are 3 keys to finding the right buyer for your house. The first one is the presentation. Yeah, we talked about that one. That's the pictures that you use to market your house. Next is the ease of access. That's this one, the one we were just talking about right now, and that is how easy is it for a buyer to come see your house? And of course, the list price for your house. Another question I do get is, Jose, I should do an open house, right? And my answer to that is, sure, you can do an open house. Open houses aren't necessarily a bad thing. Just keep in mind that current statistics do show that only about 1% of home sales happen as a direct result of an open house. Yeah, there's a number of people that do show up to open houses that they're the neighbors. They live in the neighborhood. They're curious about your floor plan. How did you decorate? Also, there are some that show up to open houses. They're the career open house attendees. They like to go to open houses in the city and be able to see how they look, get ideas. Hopefully they're not watching this video, but yeah, my parents, they actually fall into that second group. Or there's people that like to go to open houses to see homes that they can't even afford yet, but they want to. Actually, confession, that was my wife and I a few times when we first got married. Don't get me wrong though. I mean, yes, there are people actually that are out there going to open houses to see homes that they're very seriously considering buying. It's just that you got to filter through those first 3 groups that I talked about to be able to find them. But whatever the method is that you use, whether it's to schedule a showing and having them come individually see your house, or maybe you did do an open house, whatever the method is, the goal is we want people to come see the house so that they can make an offer. But if they do come, they see the house, but don't make an offer, I would definitely say you want to get some feedback on what they thought about the house. What about if you have quite a few people, they come, they look at the house, none of them have anything bad to say about the house, but none of them make any offers either. What's that telling you?
The price?
Yeah, I mean, if you have that many people, they come look at your house, but none of them make an offer, a lot of times it's because of the price you have your house listed at.
Half price it is.
No, that is not what I'm saying, not at all. But when the market is talking to you, and make no mistake, that's exactly what this is. This is the market talking to you. You want to be sure that you're listening. Now, if you do consider making any price changes, how long do you wait? How long do you wait before you do that? It all depends on the local market. Again, it goes back to the very first thing we talked about in this video. You have to study the local market. You have to study the trends, such as, for example, how long are homes staying on the market around your neighborhood? Maybe in your area, maybe they're just taking a little bit longer. Maybe that's the trend in that area. So you want to make sure that you're studying those trends. In fact, one of the things that I like to do is not only do I like to look at the sold prices, because that gives you insight into what the market was 30 or 40 or 50 or however many days ago, but 30 or more days ago, that's what you're getting insight on. For me, I like to look into the homes that are currently in escrow. Now, I'm going to be honest with you here, that's not very easy to get that information because you're not going to find it online. I mean, when you look at a house online and that house is in escrow, it doesn't show you what the accepted price was. Again, that's not going to show you that accepted price until it closes escrow 30 days from now. What it's going to show you is what the list price was. Did it go into escrow for more, for less? I mean, again, it's not going to tell you that right there. But if you can get that information, that is some gold information right there, some valuable information, because it's telling you what's going on right now. Once you do get an offer on your house, you definitely want to be sure that you review that offer very closely. What exactly is in that offer? Because there's more to an offer than just the dollar amount. What kind of contingencies do they have in there, and do those work for you? Also, if they're financing their purchase, I mean, how does that look? They better have a pre-approval, and also beyond just that, they also better have the cash to cover the down payment and the closing costs for that purchase. Yeah, there's another one, closing costs. What's being paid for and by who? Of course, once you do go into escrow, you absolutely want to be sure that you're covering yourself and providing all the state required disclosures about your house. I can't say that they all will or always will, but I have seen where you can get some help from the escrow office to make sure that you are providing the correct forms, the required forms in the required timeframes. However, it's not just you. The buyers, they also have requirements on their end too, such as, for example, their inspections. They have to have all their inspections done and completed in the agreed to timeframe that was in their offer. So you want to make sure that you're holding them to their timeframes too.
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Well, Speaking of inspections, here in California, buyers typically have 14 to 17 days, whatever it was that the actual number that you both agree to, but typically 14 to 17 days to complete their inspections and appraisal. So let's say, for example, you both agreed 15 days. That's how much time they have, 15 days to complete their inspections and 15 days to complete the appraisal. But you do need to be sure that you're giving them access to be able to complete those inspections in time, as well as the appraiser to do their job too. Now, let's be honest with each other. We both know that once they have their inspections done, they're most likely going to find something that they want to be able to negotiate with you for repairs. And if you remember earlier in this video, we talked about whether or not you should fix things before you put the house up for sale. And listen, even if you did, even if you fixed everything you could find, honestly, the odds are that the inspector is going to find something. It's their job. Their job is to be able to find things wrong with the house and present it to the buyer. Now, what you agree to fix or not fix, or if you're going to give them a credit or not give them a credit for them to fix, I mean, that's a decision for you to make once you do get to this point. What I will say is this, is if they do present a request for a repair to you and you look at it and you're thinking, they might have a valid concern here. I mean, that's kind of valid. And if I reject them, there is a chance this could become a sticking point and maybe it could cause them to even just cancel out the purchase, assuming they're still within their contingency period. If that is the case, though, it might be worth considering it, whether that's agreeing to their request as is or negotiating it. Again, that's something for you to consider once you do get to this point. But once you have negotiated any repair requests that they have and everyone's fine, everyone's on the same page with that, you've submitted all the required disclosures about the house, everyone has seen them, everyone's signed off on it, it's all in the hands of escrow now. Once all that's been done, I mean, you should now be in place to be able to close escrow, to finalize the sale of your house and to collect your money. I would just say when you're hitting that point, double check. I would reach out to escrow, double check, make sure that everything that they need is in place for them to be able to properly close out the sale and close escrow. Just keep in mind two things. First, I want to be sure to mention the legal liabilities that are involved when selling a house.
What is that supposed to mean?
Those disclosures I talked about just a minute ago that are disclosures about the house, well, those disclosures, they're designed to protect you, because if you don't submit those to the buyer, that door is wide open for that buyer to come back and sue you. Whereas if you have an agent, the nice thing about that is that burden is now on them. Also, according to the National Association of Realtors 2020 profile on home buyers and sellers, they found that homes sold by owner, they sold for 12% less than the median sales price of homes that were sold with an agent. Now, am I saying that if you do sell your house on your own for sale by owner, that's it, you're done, you're going to sell your house for 12% less than you would get if you had an agent? No, not necessarily. I mean, again, that 12%, that is an average. Hey, I'm glad you're still here because as I mentioned at the beginning, I do have a free gift that I'd like to leave with you, and that is my free home seller's guide. It's packed with great information designed to help you with preparing and ultimately selling your home. Go ahead and click on the link in the description section below to download your free guide. Of course, if you do have any questions, or maybe you are thinking about selling a home here around the Inland Empire, my contact information is below. Otherwise, if you are thinking about selling your house, whether that's because you're planning on downsizing, upsizing, whatever the reason is, but if you are planning on selling your house in order to buy another house, both at the same time, oh, I would definitely catch this video next, or actually apparently YouTube thinks you might like that one more. Either way though, feel free to reach out. I'm always here to help.